as well. All right, Jeff, let's get right into the hockey
Sure.
talk, because a few games had some implications
Sure.
with the Capitals and what they're battling with in the East in that wild card race. The interesting one was Nashville taking on Columbus. Cole Smith was out there for the opening draw. 3 seconds later, he went back down the tunnel, and then you're telling me he returned to the bench in this game?
This was a wild start to the game. First of all, there was a trade before the game. Michael McCarron gets traded from Nashville to the Minnesota Wild. The second rounder goes the other way. And then this with Cole Smith. He's out there for 3 seconds, goes to the bench, later went down, went to the dressing room, came out for the second period, but sat beside UC Saros for the remainder of the game. So we're expecting another trade from the Nashville Predators probably sometime this evening as they're starting to tear things down. But listen, as Joe B mentioned in the segment before I came on here with you, the out-of-town scoreboard was not kind to the Washington Capitals tonight. They needed a Nashville win. Like, look, the Columbus Blue Jackets were coming off an exciting one last night against the Rangers, squandered a 4-0 lead, went into overtime. Kirill Marchenko ended up winning it. You think they might be a little bit tired for this one. They were down as well, and then comes storming back Sean Monahan with a shorthanded goal, and now the Columbus Blue Jackets pick up 4 points in 2 games. Not good for the Washington Capitals. Here's the deal with Columbus and the games they have left. They have one more game before trade deadline on Friday. That's against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. They've got 22 games left, 13 against playoff teams. And here's the decision that Don Waddell, their general manager, has to make here. I know they're nipping at a playoff spot, but they have some pretty big unrestricted free agents on the horizon. We'll think of Mason Marchment. We'll think of Boone Jenner and Charlie Coyle. Those are 2 big centers. And defenseman Eric Goodbranson. What is the decision that Columbus makes, even though they're not tucked into a playoff spot yet? Do they just go for it and say this is a market that needs playoffs right now? Or does Don Waddell take the step back and maybe play the long game? We'll see what happens here with Columbus. But the Blue Jackets doing the Capitals no favors tonight, Alexa. None at all.
Nope. It's the decision that the GMs are making this time of year. Okay, the next game we were looking at, the Bruins and the Penguins. I'm not sure which team we wanted to win that game, because one team's in the Metro spot the Capitals want to get to. One team is in the wild card spot. So this one had major play for the Caps as well.
This did as well. Erik Karlsson scores on the first shot of the game. There you go. That's 1-0 Pittsburgh Penguins. This is one of those rare games where if you're a Washington Capitals fan and you're scoreboard watching, you find yourself actually cheering for the Pittsburgh Penguins, noted rivals. Hushnadinov scores there for the Boston Bruins, and then Casey Middlestat makes it 2-1, and that was the final score. Make no mistake about it, the Washington Capitals are chasing wild card 2. That's being absorbed right now by the Boston Bruins. Jeremy Swayman with the win on this one. So this one gets tough now. If you're chasing the Penguins, they've got 22 games left, 13 playoff teams. The Bruins have 22 games left and only face 9 playoff teams. Listen, Washington's got 19 games remaining to face off against 9 playoff teams in that process. They're chasing WC2, and the Boston Bruins have an easier schedule. Not saying the Caps can't do it, because at the end of a game, we're talking about a rubber puck on cold ice. But at the same time, it is not going to be easy as we have a look at the standings there, Alexa, for the Washington Capitals here. It's a tough sled.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, you have your ear to the ground definitely way more than I do, so you know this. But, in years past, leading up to the trade deadline, you'd hear from pundits all over the place saying, oh, this is going to be, they're going to be flying, names flying off the charts, going everywhere, and then it's just a dud. Nothing happens. Guys kind of say, are you hearing that there's going to be possibly some big fish moving, and what are those implications?
So, first of all, you're 100% right, Brent. Like, somewhere along the way, managers stopped waiting until, 3 o'clock Eastern on trade deadline to make their move. They wanted to get the jump. And then trade deadline just sort of, you're so right, it just turned into tweak deadline. Like, every team, as we all know, loads up on depth defensemen. Oh, we're going to get another, 5-6 defensemen. Everyone's loading up on depth D. But this year's a little bit different. Last year we had a couple of whoppers. Brad Marchand goes to the Florida Panthers from the Boston Bruins. That was huge. Mikko Rantanen goes from the Carolina Hurricanes to the Dallas Stars. That was a massive deal. We do have the potential, maybe not like Rantanen big, but we have a chance here to have a really good trade deadline. I think a lot of these deals get done before we get to Friday, but nonetheless, listen, today was Robert Thomas Day. St. Louis Blues, first line center, one of the best playmaking centers in the entire NHL. And, Darren Dreger from TSN today reporting that, they were inching closer to a deal with Robert Thomas and the Buffalo Sabres. If you go back to December, the top team in the NHL are the Buffalo Sabres. They fired their general manager, Kevin Adams. Jarmo Kekalainen takes over. Really didn't do anything to the team other than just change his own business card. And the team took off, rocket attached to their back. And now maybe Jarmo Kekalainen, because every general manager wants this, Robert Thomas may end up being Jarmo Kekalainen's face card. That one player that you get, that you hang your hat on. Every general manager can sort of nip around the edges of the team. This might be the big face card here for the Buffalo Sabres and the jolt they might need, not just to get to the playoffs, Brent, but also maybe even do some damage while they get there. Connor Garland's another name, by the way. Vancouver Canucks are going to have a fire sale. They've already started. Tyler Myers' name is very much out there. There's a deal on the table from the Detroit Red Wings. Connor Garland been attached to both the New York Islanders and the Boston Bruins. Elias Pettersson was once upon a time attached to the Carolina Hurricanes. Then he signed his Vancouver contract. Things have not worked out there. 3 games back from the Olympic break, he still has yet to register a shot on goal. And I'm not sure if you've seen the interviews, but to be kind, they've been very emo-esque, if you catch my drift. He's kind of got the long, pouty face right now in Vancouver. We'll see what happens by Friday.
Yeah, and we're looking at this. We've got 6 teams that are basically, ready for the tankathon. Of those 6 teams, who do you think is going to be the most active when it all is said and done? Because we've got some very good-looking prospects in the NHL draft. You want to do everything you can to be first overall, second overall, third overall to get the choices this year. Who do you think of those 3 teams make sure they do the most to guarantee that they're at the bottom of the heap?
Oh, so far, Vancouver's done the best job of it.
I thought they did that started it last summer with the way they were signing their team.
This was an unplanned tank, I assure you, as we all know. The Vancouver Canucks, like the 2 that I wonder about are Vancouver and also the St. Louis Blues. Like, it seems as if, like, Jordan Kyrie's name for St. Louis has been out there forever. Justin Falk, the defenseman, his name has been out there forever. Jordan Binnington, their netminder, his name has been out there forever. And now Robert Thomas joins the mix. So if I'm going to pick a couple, it's going to be Vancouver and St. Louis. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks sort of, earlier on this season indicated that they would be listening on all of their players. And a week and a half later, guys, Quinn Hughes became a member of the Minnesota Wild. And then the dominoes have sort of fallen from there, and the losses have fallen from there. So if I'm picking 2, they're both in the Western Conference. It's Vancouver and it's the St. Louis Blues, recharging both of them.
Very, very interesting. We'll wait to see when those moves come down the pipe. All right, the guy sitting right next